In this episode, we work on the headliner for Project Ford Fairmont, and I bring you up to speed on what else I got going on inside the car to date. Guys, welcome to the show. Today, like I said, we are working on the headliner, but first, let me give you a little introduction to who I am, what this channel is about. Of course, my name is Grant Tommy, and this is my channel Straight Six Fan. And you're probably tuning in, obviously, to watch some Project Ford Fairmont, but if this is your first time, my channel is all about focusing on budget-minded, creative, relatable builds, a little something I like to call offbeat hot rodding. And of course, if you're interested in 1978 Ford Fairmont build, that's as offbeat hot rodding as it gets. But I do have some footage from last week, Labor Day week, that I didn't air in my last upload, my last taped upload, we'll say. If you watched my live stream, you might have caught wind of a couple of those things, but I want to kind of roll back some footage I had from last week to kind of show you what we got going on with the gear selector, as well as kind of some door issues. So let's roll that footage and then we will check back in here in a second. What I've had to end up doing, hopefully there's enough light here, is there are two collars for the steering shaft, one back there, one up here. I removed the bolts from this one. There's actually two sets of them because the hood latch goes underneath it, so you do hood latch bracket comes first. See, it's probably dangling under there somewhere. I opted not to take all the way off the nuts on that one because I want to try to, the less things I manipulate, I feel the better. In case there's some factory thing I can keep closer to factory, I want to do that. So I didn't back those all the way off because I felt like that might be a windfall. Also, I could, it's really hard to see, but also I could back out this little bolt off of the column shift shaft, and that's where the plastic bracket broke. That catches this end of the gear selector. In an effort to find the plastic thing that goes on the column shift, I could not. I came up short. So digging around my old go-kart parts bin is this little throttle cable thing. It's got a little tab on it that I think is going to work. I think. But I'm going to put a little notch on this so that that cable can get in there. But then I'm also going to wrap this with like electrical tape to help protect that thread of the selector. So I got to back off that bolt the rest of the way, and we'll get this on there, and we'll see if that's a. Okay, so I ended up using Teflon tape after I cut that. I didn't think the electrical tape is really gonna stay in place like I wanted to. So that way that nylon's not like rubbing on bare metal. But look at how lucky I am. This is the plastic piece that broke, and this was the little piece that had originally broke. I ended up snapping that thing in worse shape and busting it off because before I lowered the steering column, it was a bear just being able to get a wrench in there. But man, look at how dimensionally dang close these are. Okay, so that plastic clip must have a funky shape to it because this is the best I could do. That's park. And so there's reverse, sort of, neutral, drive, second, one. So, whatever. If you guys know where I can find that clip, comment below, tell me, show me, and I'd probably be willing to redo this. But for now, this is, at least I can make sense out of park, reverse, and neutral, sort of. So, okay, so it is Monday, and I did end up getting these armrests washed off. I ended up using tub of soapy water and a scrub brush, and got them cleaned up. Now the driver's side was a much more dramatic difference than the passenger side. If you follow me on Instagram, you saw exactly what that looked like. But let's talk about the headliner again. Alright guys, so first things first, we removed all of the trim on the pillars, your A and your B pillars. There's also trim around the perimeter of the ceiling. to get to our headliner, and you know, I talked a little bit about it on the live stream. This was the original. It was actually in good shape, a vinyl product, but it did appear this was a foam back headliner at some point. And so once you get all of your trim out, mostly for this just kind of fell out on its own, has adhered in very few spots anymore. So we discarded the old one, but it just made sense to take out the cardboard backer. This is going to be your best bet. Let gravity work with you on this, but we went ahead and removed that, and it did just diagonally, just barely fit through the door opening. So, and so now we have it out. But before I get any further on what's going on with sort of a how-to do a headliner, I'm going to bring you guys up to speed a little bit on some purchases that I've made to date. As you remember, if you watched my sort of introduction to the project video, I laid out kind of my ground rules for what counts against the budget and what doesn't. And first things first, let me grab a pile of stuff. Okay, so one of the first purchases I made was this vintage Chilton's manual for this year of Fairmont, and on eBay I got this sucker for $3.73. Headliner material, based on a recommendation from Greg's Garage. He told me about a local place here in Kansas City that had fabrics. National Fabrics is what it's called. And I picked up basically 1.5 yards of headliner material. It is a cloth headliner, so we were switching from vinyl to cloth. They didn't have the vinyl version, so I couldn't go all original anyway. I felt safer about going with the foam back product. The guy there was trying to convince me that my original one was not, but based on what I can feel on the cardboard and on the back of that, I really think it was foam back. So this is a little more forgiving of a material than the vinyl. So this came in at $24.51. And lastly, I know I said tools I don't count towards the budget, but in this instance I'm counting this roller and this foam brush towards the budget, because in my almost, let me think, close to 9 years of home ownership, I have never bought this size of a paint roller before. And that's not to say I'm not going to find a second purpose for this around the house sometime, but I thought in fairness, I don't really usually buy these, so I'm counting this towards the budget, and with tax included between the rollers and the hookup was $9.30. So that brings our total today on this episode, the remaining budget as we started the episode, is at $2,200. These buys bring it down to $2,162.46. But let's get back to the headliner install. Alright, so first things first, one of the recommendations from my cousin who went to upholstery school talked about is if it was foam back, take a vacuum sweeper and then get the nozzle, the narrowest nozzle you can with the wand, and try to suck off as much foam as you can. And I did a okay job, I think. It wasn't great, but it wasn't horrible. But I wasn't necessarily pleased with the results. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this stiff nylon brush, and if you just work against it, and I'll do a close-up here in a second, but it seems to get the existing foam residue off. So we're going to go ahead and get this cleaned off first, and then we'll check back in here in a second. Okay, now with the backer panel cleaned off, what we've done is, first off, I've marked center lines both on the backer panel and my material. It's not necessarily that I've got to be dead nuts squared up on this thing, but I've got excess on all 4 sides, but I want to make sure I don't have it cockeyed just in case I get too close to the edge on something. So you always want excess, right? So what we're going to be using today to adhere this is DAP Weldwood contact cement. Now, they make a product specific for headliners, but from my research, from what I could tell, chemically these two products are not all that different. So I guess what I'm saying is I'm on a little bit of a gamble here, using this stuff, which is good for like things like laminates. It's a commercial grade product, So let's see here, laminates, veneers, foam, this is foam, cloth, this is cloth, metal, leather, wood, particle board, plywood, and fiberglass. So anyway, you'll want to apply to both sides, and that's what we're going to do. The other thing, you may notice how I have it folded back. Most advice and videos I've seen tell you to do exactly this: start in the middle, work your way out, and only do half at a time. So just for my sake, we're doing the front half, it looks like, first. But doesn't really matter which way you start. It's just a matter of, you don't want to get, at some point you're going to sort of have to lay it all down at once. It's just going to be easier to work it out. We don't have to worry about doing the whole thing, right? So anyway, it'll give us the opportunity to slowly kind of just roll this up forward. But anyway, again, this is not counting towards the budget because this is something I had lying around the house. You can see out in the garage here, the age on it. But anyway, let's get going. Okay, so after you adhere it, of course you gotta trim it, and then after you trim it, you can reinstall it like so. And I think I'm gonna give myself like a B- for my first headliner. You can see some of those impressions. Hopefully, I'm hoping that the foam self-cures itself a little bit over time, but what really makes me mad was this spot up here. That I got some adhesive on, some contact cement on the cloth side, and I don't really know how, because I was doing really good keeping my hands clean, wearing gloves as well. So I tried to wet it down, but I think what I was actually doing was saturating it enough to pull glue through the foam. So I'm gonna let it be for a while, and I'll come back and attempt to clean it again. But yeah, that was the one disappointment. Okay, so one other thing, full disclosure, the contact cement I used was actually a brand new can because stupid me didn't go out and check my shelves in my garage before I left Labor Day weekend, thinking I needed to buy some, see if I had it, which was the can I showed you earlier. So I bought a new can, and I'd already opened it when I was using it, and I wound up going all the way through that full brand new can. So what I had on hand anyway wouldn't have made it all the way through. So note to self, on a car this size, or to you guys watching, this size can is going to do a headliner. So and this one was more or less a square. It was kind of like 56 by 56 inches. But anyway, so we are going to, because I went all the way through a can, that goes against the budget, so that taxes the budget another $14.15, which then brings this episode's total, the budget, down to $2,148.31 remaining. So that's going to do it for this episode. I will probably, I don't know, I feel like I'm in a rhythm now of doing those 15-minute live streams on Tuesdays, so be watching for that, I guess. I'll probably do one again. Probably be dismantling some more stuff on this interior, because carpet is next, guys. Reminder, if you're interested in a straight 6-fan Pistons tee, there's a link to my Spreadshirt down below. And that's going to wrap up this Sunday upload, so you guys, you want to say it with me, but until next time, peace out.